everybody. Thanks for joining me today. I was excited when Cassidy contacted me and asked me to do a class. And she gave me a couple of topics, and so I decided the topic I wanted to do it on was herbal emergency preparedness, especially for families. And if you have probably younger families, but it works for all of them, so I guess it doesn't really matter. I know this year has been such a crazy year with the earthquake and the winds and all of this stuff, and I thought, what? I think in terms of grandchildren, because I have a ton of grandchildren, what would happen if one of them got sick and they couldn't get to a doctor or they couldn't get to a hospital if that was the case? What would they do? Would they know what to do? Well, they should. I'm hoping that I've taught them well enough that they should know, but sometimes you forget. I just want you to know at the start that I don't have anything against doctors. Doctors do good things. Hospitals are good. If you need them, use them. But this is something you can do if you can't afford it, if you can't get there. You take care of things. So the first thing I was going to talk about is constipation. Did you know all disease starts with constipation of some type? If you have heart disease, your blood vessels or your arteries are clogged, they're constipated. If you have high blood pressure, your veins are clogged. If you have anything else, everything starts with a constipation. So I have a granddaughter that she came to her mom a couple of weeks ago and she says, "Mom, I feel like I need to go to the bathroom, and but I can't." And her mom said, "Well, you need to work on that." So, and then her mom kind of promptly forgot about it because she's a busy mom. And a couple of days later, she was at work and her daughter sent her a text. She says, Mom, I went. And her mom goes, "Yay, that's great." But what we need to do is water, lots of water. Fruits and vegetables, lots of fruits and vegetables, and exercise. And I'd say kids need exercise, but they don't really need exercise because we're usually the one getting our exercise, chasing them. So exercise is important for everybody. And teenagers, I don't know if they get enough exercise, especially when they're at home. I know the teenagers in our family just kind of like to lay around a lot, so you may want to watch them to make sure they're getting enough exercise. The next herb that I was going to talk about is called plantain. Plantain's pretty common. I've seen a lot of it down at Liberty Park, and I thought at one time I ought to go down there and get some from there, but the problem is I don't know if it's been sprayed or not. And you don't want to get herbs that have been sprayed because we don't want to take them into our body. But plantain is really good for bites and stings. I had my daughter-in-law called me one day and she said, "Do you have any of that plantain salve that you've made?" I said, "I don't, but I can make some if I need to." And she said, "Yeah, Zoe got attacked by mosquitoes." Zoe was about 3 years old, and I thought, okay, she got a few mosquito bites, so she's probably just a little miserable. So when we got together later that day, she came in, she had 25 mosquito bites on one arm. They were all around her face, they were on her neck and on her chest, and they were also on her other arm. She was miserable. So I gave the salve to her dad and he took it, put some on every single one of her little bites. And she went off and played with the kids. And then when it started to bother again, she came back and they put some more. And they took it home and just put it on the cupboard, and whenever she needed any, she just picked it up and put it on her. That's one of the things that's great about herbs is they're non-toxic. She could have taken that whole container and eaten it, and it wouldn't have been a problem for her. She also later, this has been a few years later, she was at our house and she was playing on a swing, and a wasp came up and stung her right here. And she came right in the house, and I put some plantain on it, and the next day we were all together for a family function, and you couldn't even see where she had gotten stung. I had another granddaughter that got stung by a bee on her ear, and when I got there, her little ear was just all swollen and big, and we put some on, and by the time I left about 15 minutes later, it was almost back to normal. She never had any problems from there. I've taken this to girls' camps, and for mosquito bites and for spider bites. And they'll come and put it on, in a couple of days, it's gone. Just gone. So it's great. This is great stuff. Every family in my family has plantain. In fact, I had a granddaughter go on a mission, and before she left, she told me, I want you to make some plantain and send her with her. So if she gets mosquito bites, she can put it on her. Perfect. That works. Elderberry. Elderberry is such a, we love it in our family. Everybody in my family knows how to make it. Everybody takes it. I had one daughter that she and her family, they didn't get sick an entire winter because they took elderberry all winter. It's good for colds and flu. It tastes good. I have 3 grandchildren that I watch, and they are, I call them my little herb birds, because as soon as I pull out the herbs and stuff out of the fridge to give them, they come over with their mouths open just like little birds wanting it. And there's even one that I give her dose of elderberry, and she squawks because she wants more. And so it's great stuff. It's easy to make. We've got up to the canyons here in Salt Lake and picked elderberries and made elderberry juice out of it. And I have 2 bushes I now have planted in my yard, and my elderberries just turned purple, so we're going to be picking them and drying them so we can have elderberry for this winter. It's a great thing to have around. It's great for prevention. It's great to give your kids before they go to school to help boost their immune system. That's what it does. It boosts your immune system. And they, you can give it to them to prevent. You can give it to them when they get sick. You can give them a half teaspoon when they leave for prevention. If they get sick, give them a teaspoon every couple of hours. That's children's dose. Adult dose is different. It's great stuff to have around. I don't think anybody in our family would go without having elderberry. Yarrow is another herb that's common here in Utah, in Salt Lake. I've seen it in yards. I've seen it in the canyons. Yarrow is a diaphoretic, which means it makes you sweat. So if you have a child that gets sick, you just take them and put them in a nice tub of warm water, give them some yarrow to drink, and get them to sweat. And what that does is it creates an artificial fever that will take care of the virus and the bacteria that they're struggling with. And that's good stuff too to have around too. Coughs. That's pretty common a lot of the times during the winter, is a lot of coughs. I have one granddaughter that every year for the past 3 or 4 years, she coughs and coughs and coughs for 2 or 3 months, and they just can't get her to stop coughing. Interesting story though, is her dad took her to the doctor, and he said, so what can we give her so she doesn't cough and she's not sick all winter? And her doctor said elderberry. And he got home from the doctor and he called me. He said, I guess you know what you're talking about, because my doctor just said to give Bernie elderberry. Anyway, Bernie, did you know that you can almost eat a pine tree? You can eat the pine nuts, which are so good. 3,000 calories a pound, but they're so good. You can take the pine gum or resin and make a salve out of that, which is really good drying salve. You can take the bark and grind it and make flour and make bread with it. You can take the needles and you can make infusions or teas. You can make cough syrups with it. You can even take the new little buds on the trees, especially blue spruce trees. They get those little buds at the end of it. You can just pick those off and eat them. They're actually really good. Pine trees are really full of vitamin C, so it's really good to drink during the winter. Anyway, Bernie was in her coughing stage forever, and I was excited because I could finally make this pine needle cough syrup. And so I made it, took it out to him, and I said, Bernie, I made you some pine needle cough syrup. And she goes, my favorite. And we both, her and her mom, we both laughed because she'd never had it before, but apparently it was her favorite. So that's a fun thing to think about, is Bernie and her favorite. Her mom, they had just moved down to Vegas, and I was down there, and she was just getting over a cold, and she was getting sinus. And she said, oh my, I have the worst headaches. And she said, we've been down here, we don't have a doctor, we don't have insurance. And I said, I got something that you can take for it. And she always gets suspicious when I say that. And she said, okay, fine. What is it? So we went to the store, just the grocery store. We got horseradish root, apple cider vinegar, and honey. And we took the horseradish and we grated it up really fine. I put it in vinegar, then we put some honey in it. And she was very leery, not knowing if she really wanted to taste this. And I tasted it, and actually it tasted pretty good. I said, you know, you could take this and put it on salad as your dressing, and it would be really good. And she did. She started putting it on salad. And a couple of days later, I called her and I said, so how's your sinus doing? She says, well, I've been taking it to work, and I dip cucumbers in it, and then I eat it. And she says, actually, my sinus is almost gone. So that's 2 days. And so it worked pretty good. I think she was surprised, but I wasn't very surprised at all. Another herb that's good to have around is cayenne. Cayenne is good for a number of things. It's good for high blood pressure because it equalizes your blood flow throughout your whole body. It's also good if you know someone's having a stroke. You can put a teaspoon in a cup of hot water, and they drink it, and it stops the stroke. It stops bleeding. My granddaughter got a sore, and she pulled a scab off of it, and she was bleeding. It was like dripping bleeding. And her mom said, go put some cayenne on it. And so she came up to the kitchen and put some cayenne on it. And she says, is it gonna burn? Is it gonna hurt? Her mom says, I don't know. And she said it did a tiny bit, but it stopped the bleeding. Let's see, what else can I? It's just good for a lot of things. It's a stimulant. It makes everything just work better, is what it does. My husband had heart surgery 4 years ago. He didn't know he needed it until he was almost dead, basically. By the time he went into the doctor, he had to have a triple bypass. And out of 3 arteries, one was like 95, one was like 90, and the other was, I don't know, I can't remember now, way clogged. And anyway, he came home with 9 prescriptions. He hates taking pills. And I said, I know stuff you can take that's herbal. And he said, well, I think I'll just keep taking the pills. And I said, okay. So he kept taking it, and after about a week and a half, he came to me and he said, okay, I'm done. One of these pills is making me sick, and I can't deal with it anymore, so I'm done. Oh, excuse me. And so I gave him cayenne pills that he's still taking to this day, because cayenne clears out, keeps your blood moving. He also takes garlic, which makes it so your platelets don't stick together. So that helps to keep his arteries cleared out. So he does a whole lot better with that, and he's happy to take these pills. Did you know that if you take, I've kind of moved on to garlic now. I just kind of slid right into the other one. You can take a clove of garlic and put it on the floor, peel it, put it on the floor, and step on it barefoot, and within 2 minutes you will be able to smell garlic on your breath. Garlic is great. It's antibiotic, antimicrobial, it's all these things, and it a thought just came and left right this second. It'll come back. Oh, 4 cloves. You can take 4 cloves of garlic and it equals a dose of penicillin. So that's a good thing to know. I have a son that a lot of the times in the winter he works and works and works and works and works and works and works, and he gets sick, and he just never can take time off to get better. And then one day he'll call me and say, okay, Mom, you gotta fix me. So he comes over to the house, and I stick him on the couch, and I put a mustard plaster on his chest. I give him some elderberry. I take garlic and I mince it up and I put it in Vaseline. And you take Vaseline and put it around the sides of your feet, but then you take the garlic Vaseline and put it on the foot. And then you wrap it and with plastic wrap. Then you put a towel around it, and then he sits there for a half hour. I keep telling him he should take a nap. I don't know if he's ever taken a nap, but he sits there, and he always kicks his cold, or his whatever it is that's dragging on and on. He always kicks it. And so sometimes I think they use me as the last resort. But this stuff works. It really does work. Another thing that's good for colds and stuff is fire cider, and you can find recipes for fire cider all over the internet. Anything that's hot and spicy pretty much goes in there. You put peppers, you put onions, you put garlic, you put horseradish, you put like I say, anything hot and spicy. There's all sorts of recipes. And you put it in vinegar and you set it in your window for 2 or 3 weeks and let it macerate and strain it off, and you can take it. And that's really good for colds and for sicknesses. I don't think kids will take that, but if you're a good old adult, you probably can handle it. Echinacea is another good thing to have around. Echinacea is a flower, and you have to use the root. So I usually just buy the tincture and have that around, and tinctures last for years and years and years. And it's really good for your immune system, and it boosts your immune system and keeps it going. We've talked about a bunch of different herbs, and a lot of these are local here in the area that you can just look. If you know what they look like, you may have to look them up on an app. But like yarrow grows in yards or in the canyons. You can also get chamomile that's up in the canyons, and that's good for digestion and other things. Herbs, there's really not any herb that is just good for one thing. The only one I know that's more specific than anything else for one thing is hawthorn berry, and that's good for your heart and for strengthening your heart and feeding your heart. But it's also good for other things too, but it's way specific for your heart. A lot of these herbs will handle a lot of different problems that people have. So we've talked about constipation. Make sure they're getting water and fiber and exercise. And that's good advice for even us as adults. Plantain for bites and stings is great. Elderberry. I'm kind of excited. Mine just turned purple, so we'll be picking them this weekend, I hope, so we can dry them and have them. Diaphoretic yarrow is good for fevers, coughs, pine needles, making a cough syrup with it, which is just a pine needle infusion, and then you take it and put some honey in it. So that's good that way. Sinus, horseradish, apple cider vinegar, and honey works great. Cayenne for blood issues, stopping bleeding and keeping things working well. You know how sometimes when you get a cut on your hand and you sit there and you can feel it throbbing? If you take cayenne, the throbbing stops because the blood isn't rushing to the cut, it's equalizing through your whole body. That's why it works well in first aid emergency situations. Garlic is just a good thing to have around. It's just use it in your cooking. Put it in closer to the end so it doesn't really get cooked to death, but just put it in and use it for that. Fire cider is just great. It's actually pretty pleasant to look at. It's pretty to look at, I should say. And echinacea is good for your immune system and keeping it up to par. I'm going to make up a sheet that will be on the site that you can take and print off, that will have remedies, how to make them, where to get them, if you want to just buy them, or if you want to just know how to do it. And it'll also have where you can get them. Sorry, my brain's just kind of fritzing right now. Where to get them, the different places that I like, and sources that I trust, which would be good. It's always good to know. I know when I first started doing this, I was always frustrated because I'd say, oh, this is so good, and this and this and this and this, and I'd go, where do you get that, and how do you do that, and did I miss something here? And so I know I have a daughter that she keeps saying, Mom, make sure everybody knows where to get it and how to make it and all that. And I said, okay, we'll do it. So I'll make up a sheet. Also, I hope that this is giving you some ideas and some tools that will make it so that you think that if something were to happen, if there was an emergency, that you would be able to have control. And I know I feel a whole lot better about the health of all of my family because I know about herbs, know more about herbs, and I'm continually learning. And I think that's an important thing to do because time may well come that we can't get our prescriptions or we can't go to the doctors or whatever the case may be. And so I think it's important that we know how to do that. The sheet will also have my email address, so if you have any questions, you can send those to me and I'll gladly respond. I hope you feel better about how things may turn out in the future if there's an emergency, because you can use this on anybody, so it will be a good thing to know. Okay, thank you. Bye.